gears. What the hell is wrong with you?
What the hell is wrong with you? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Ryno's Rants. And we are your official home for accepting apologies from Stephen A. Smith and every other national media member who came out last week saying that the San Francisco 49ers were going to walk into US Bank Stadium and blow out the Minnesota Vikings. Ladies and gentlemen, the losing streak for San Francisco has now reached 33 years. The last time they won in Minnesota, George Bush Sr. was president, and a lot of the fan base wasn't even a thought at that point in time from the new ones. Good evening, Nympha, Bob, Nick, Josh, Steven, Norspheus, Riley. Good evening, guys. Doc, thank you once again for joining. Glad to have you guys on here. We are in a Victory Monday celebration as your Minnesota Vikings, of course, yesterday took care of business and beat the San Francisco 49ers, odds-on preseason favorite to represent the NFC, at least in the NFC Championship game, if not the Super Bowl. Good evening, Dan. Riley was a twinkle in his father's eye the last time the 49ers won in Minnesota. Yeah, it's been a while. 1989, I believe, was the last time. So, Gary, good evening. Have they said exactly what the injury is to Turner? It is a knee issue of some sort, but according to Kevin O'Connell in his press conference today, it's not serious. So, he's still up in the air for maybe this week against Houston, but they don't expect him to miss much of any time. Justin Jefferson, of course, the big scary yesterday, ended up with a contusion on his quad. KOC said he was much better today, and they anticipate he will be good to go for Sunday, so that is important. Wasn't Joe Montana their quarterback the last time? I believe so. Might have been Steve Young. Or a combination of the two probably. But, yeah, it was that long ago. 1992, okay. Yeah, then it would have been Steve Young if it was 1992. Yep. Yeah, I had to looking back at some of this stuff, these guys that came out with their infinite wisdom last year. Good evening, Ant. That that San Francisco was just going to walk in here and then walk out with a win. Stephen A. Smith had called Sam Darnold a virus, that he infects a team and sinks it down to their level. Well, Stephen A., apparently Kevin O'Connell has found the cure to the Sam Darnold virus, because Darnold looked pretty good yesterday. He did have that one bad interception where I don't think he saw the linebacker coming across the middle there and, just threw a ball he should not have thrown that ended up killing a red zone drive. But beyond that, played a hell of a game. Anthony was 7 the last time, screaming A. Smith. Stephen A. can suck it. Yep, that's a nice way of putting it. Jordan Mason is a dude. Yes, he is. And I am extremely happy that I stashed him on my bench in my fantasy team, because when McCaffrey went down, now I haven't started him. I didn't start him this week against Minnesota because I didn't want to do what about as bad as the Dallas dude. Yeah, you were talking Skip Bayless. Yeah. The fumble almost gave me a heart attack. Yeah, that was, I think, made most Vikings fans' hearts skip a little bit of a beat there. We were going in. It was going to be 27-10, we were going to blow that freaking game wide open, and it would have been over and done with at that point in time. And, again, we sit there and we get that, and it's like, oh, crap, here we go. But to the credit of Kevin O'Connell, to the credit of Sam Darnold, they got the ball back. Good evening, Brian. They got the ball back after San Francisco got it down to a one-score game, with 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter, needing to run clock down and needing to get it back to a two-score game without any of our big weapons. The only quote-unquote big weapon we had was Aaron Jones. Justin Jefferson was out. Jordan Addison, of course, did not play. TJ Hawkinson was out. So Sam Darnold proceeded to drive the Minnesota Vikings down the field, converting on 3 critical third downs, 2 receptions by Jalen Naylor and a third by Brandon Powell that ran it was over 6 minutes off the clock. And, got into field goal range again, where Will the Thrill put up another field goal to get it back to 9 points. San Francisco goes down, gets a field goal, tries the onside kick. We recover it. Game over. Great win. Yes, it was. Talking about the Chicago team. I'm not one that I love to say I told you so about shit, but Caleb Williams looks like crap. Now, part of it is Eberflus. Watching him coach last night, a couple of those challenges he threw were god awful. They've got DeAndre Swift and Khalil Herbert in the running back. I think Swift was averaging like 1.5 yards per carry under this regime. I mean, Eberflus is just he is a very great coach, and the Chicago Bears should sign him to a 10-year contract extension. Let's put it that way. Needed that drive bad. Time of possession. Yeah, time of possession. I mean, the first 2 weeks, the Giants had a higher, won the time of possession battle last week. And, San Francisco won it this week. The Vikings defense gave up a ton of yards, but they made the stops when they needed to. San Francisco was only 2 of 10 on third down, and I think 1 out of 3 on fourth downs. So the Vikings defense came up when it needed to, made the big plays. We had 6 sacks. Now, you guys tell me any of you guys that had Patrick Jones II being the team leader in sacks and tied for second in the NFL after 2 weeks. If you've got that, you can call a freaking bingo. The guy that has shown up this year, I mean, we were ready to get rid of him. I thought he wasn't going to make the final cut down. I know talking to some of the other guys, Judd Zolgad had kind of said the same thing. They didn't think he was going to make the team. And now he's out there and he's leading the team in sacks. Otherwise, Blake Cashman had himself a freaking game yesterday. He had, what the hell was it? 13 tackles, a sack, and a tackle for loss. A hell of a game. Ivan Pace had 8 tackles. The Vikings had 6 sacks of Brock Purdy yesterday. That puts them at 11 on the season and leading the NFL. Coincidentally, second place on the sack list is this week's upcoming opponent, the Houston Texans. But yesterday, 6 sacks, 2 by Pat Jones, 1 by Van Ginkel, 1 by Cashman, and 1 by Grenard. So the big 3 on defense that we brought in this year all came up big. Everybody put your hands down. San Francisco went for it too much on fourth down. That's on them. Shanahan plays the analytics thing, and a lot of teams are, going forward on fourth down is a way more common occurrence than it used to be. So I don't fault any of them for that. Norris, Bryce Young is where Bryce Young got benched today. Came out Carolina is bringing back the Red Rifle to Andy Dalton as their starting quarterback this week. Stuff is becoming a massive shit show over there in Carolina. Feel bad for our old buddy Adam Thielen, who's over there right now. Ant was trying to push a trade for a bag of weed. Now he wants a raise. Beeflo is a beast. Yes, he is. You saw the exchange after the game when Brock Purdy talked to Beeflo. You could hear it on mic, that he said your scheme is absolutely crazy. So, I mean, you could tell it flustered him. It's flustered him 2 years in a row now. That's one thing, neat little stat, or as our buddy Drew Bunting likes to call it, a little tasty tidbit. In the 2 games versus the San Francisco 49ers at US Bank Stadium the last 2 years, the San Francisco 49ers have led for a grand total of 0 minutes and 0 seconds. Vikings jumped out to a 10-0 lead last year, jumped out to a 10-0 lead this year. Started it off with that block punt by CJ Ham that the Vikings turned into 3, and didn't really look back there. Skull for Life Barber, good evening. Jared, good evening. Young should go to the Rams if anybody could work with him. They need to get him. He needs to get out of there. And, find some place that can fix him if he can still be fixed. If Zimmer was still our coach, Richard misses at least 2 of those kicks. Yeah, Mike Zimmer's defense got exposed again by the New Orleans Saints yesterday. Alvin Kamara had 4 rushing touchdowns. So the last 2 times Kamara has played against a Zimmer defense, he scored 10 touchdowns on the ground. So they figured out something over there. It was kind of funny. I'm sure, the players let Zimmer down yesterday. It wasn't his fault, of course. But anyway, let's see what else we got here. This is the first time since 2016 where Sean Hill and Sam Bradford started out the season that the Vikings have started 2-0. How's Thielen feeling? I'm sure he's not liking it too well over there. Zimmer can suck it, blame everybody for everything. Yep. But yeah, 2-0 for the first time since 2016. So, I mean, that's a nice accomplishment. And we're sitting atop the NFC North by ourselves as Detroit lost to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers yesterday. Baker Mayfield had himself a big day. Chris Godwin, too. I think he had like 7 catches for 100 yards or something like that before anybody else had any receiving yards. Doc, speaking of Will the Thrill, only one who's feeling real comfortable when he kicks. So far, so good, Doc. I still catch myself a little bit with kind of when it leaves his foot and it's like, oh yeah, okay, and then it goes right through, and then so hopefully that just helps the thing a little bit. Vikings have been making some good decisions when it comes to move on from certain players, and that's one of the biggest things that I have to give Kwesi Adolfo-Mensa credit for. He gets a lot of shit for his drafting, especially the 2022 draft, with good reason. I mean, we've got 2 players left, Ed Ingram and Ty Chandler. Nick Muse also still on that one. But he put on a masterclass in free agency this year, if you think about it. Let Kirk Cousins walk, who signed for massive money down in Atlanta. Let Danielle Hunter walk, who signed a decent deal with Houston. And for less money than what they were going to have to pay Kirk, they brought in Jonathan Gennard, Andrew Van Ginkel, Blake Cashman, Stephon Gilmore, Aaron Jones, all of whom have played big parts in this 2-0 start. Good evening, Reggie. So, you got to give if you're going to rip Kwesi for his draft, you've got to give him kudos for the free agency pickups. And of course, the undrafted free agent guys. What KOC and Cam have done in the 3 years is being underrated. Absolutely it is. And that was kind of my point I was getting at. Kevin O'Connell is becoming one of the best play callers and coaches in general in the league. Dan Orlovsky was on, I don't forget which show he was on today. Orlovsky is very quickly becoming a Vikings fan. He was the one that was defending the Vikings when Stephen A. Smith went on his freaking rant last week. And he came out this morning and he said Kyle Shanahan got flat out coached. He said the Minnesota Vikings are one of the best coach teams in the NFL. And you look at it, Kevin O'Connell running the offense, Brian Flores running the defense. He's not wrong. Right now, I wouldn't trade the coaching staff that we have for any other coaching staff in the league, because I don't think Kevin O'Connell has gotten to his peak yet. I think, he's still learning it, and he's showing the progression from last year to this year already. Some of the stuff that he's making more of an attempt to incorporate the run. Of course, having Aaron Jones helps, but also being a little bit more aggressive, not taking his foot off the gas quite so early, at least in the first 2 games. Cousins is going to get more exposed tonight. Yeah, I've been hearing a lot about that. I'm still curious if Kirk Cousins' Achilles is fully healed, because he didn't look very, he never looks very mobile, but he didn't look that great last week. And of course, Monday night under the lights against Philly, he looked terrible last year in week 2 against Philly for us. So we'll see how that happens here later on, I guess. But when KOC and Kwesi came in, it was horrible, only worse situations of Panthers. I don't know if we were that bad of a situation, but it wasn't good. Doc has no animosity towards Cousins, indifferent to how he does. I just think it's kind of poetic justice. I don't wish ill will on him either, but it's just kind of funny, I think. Shanahan coaching tree. Nah, it's the O'Connell tree now. Can't be the O'Connell tree because he doesn't have any disciples that are coaching anywhere, but it's the McVay tree more than anything, I think. Culture we have here is infectious. Team is playing for the team, not playing for paydays. 100% correct, Reggie. You look, through all the stuff we heard about how Justin Jefferson was going to be so pissed after we let Kirk Cousins walk. You see that exchanged after the game when Darnold come walking in the locker room. Jefferson was one of the first guys over there, chest bump and high fives and everything else. Awful tight end screens from last year, nowhere to be seen. No, they're not, and that's a good thing. The screen game actually looks decent. It's amazing when you have the right players in there. Like I said, Aaron Jones is very good in the screen game. Now we didn't use the tight ends very much at all yesterday. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't even know if any of the tight ends had a catch. I know there was at least one throw at Johnny Munt that he didn't get. Achilles is a major injury. Yeah, it is. Yeah, understand that, Reggie. I mean, it was a bad situation, but yeah. Nice new upgrade. Yeah, okay, we're going to stay off that. Penix throws more TDs than Cousins tonight. Oh, there is a spicy hot take. I don't know that Michael Penix will see the field, but Troy Aikman said talking with Kirk that he isn't 100%. Very well could be. Like I said, it's Johnny Munt did catch one. Okay. It's a fairly short time to be back from an Achilles injury. It happened week 9 last year. So it's under a year, but yeah, beyond that, what else we got from the game yesterday we want to go over? The goal line defense stood up huge. I mean, we got that, stopped them on 4th down at the 1 yard line, and then proceeded to turn around and had probably the play of the weekend as far as what I saw anyway, when after Aaron Jones ran for 2 yards, Sam Darnold under center at the 3-yard line, play action, throws a 57-yard through the air bomb to Justin Jefferson, who takes it to the house for a 97-yard touchdown. Second longest touchdown in Minnesota Vikings history. The other one was that 99-yarder from Gus Frerotte to Bernard Berrien. And I think Brunswick put this on our page. I think he looked it up. That was the longest play ever given up by the San Francisco 49ers, that 97-yarder. The Vikings have 5 99-yard drives in their 63 now year history, and 2 of them have come in the last 2 weeks. How about the ref on that 97-yard? That guy had fucking wheels. I couldn't believe how he was out racing Jalen Naylor down the field. I want to sign that ref up and give him a contract. I mean, he's that guy definitely was rolling. Block punt comes to mind. Yep. We talked about that a little bit ago, but yeah, that you don't see a lot of those anymore. But yeah, CJ Ham got through the line there, and then Theo Jackson made the recovery. Hit him in stride. That was a dart. It was a beautiful throw by Darnold. You know, you hear the Kevin Harland. He got messy back in the pocket back there. He did hold the ball a little bit too long, and I was getting worried that it was about ready to get hit for a safety. But, you know, he hit that thing in stride, and it was a thing of beauty. Love to see Jalen Naylor getting down there, too, to get the block and blocking properly so that we didn't get called back on an illegal block. He got in front of the guy and then didn't really do much else, just kind of slowed him down. Good evening, Ken. Yeah, there again, you know, the opportunities we talked about that a little bit ago. You know, we had that play going in when Aaron Jones fumbled at the 1-yard line, would have put us up at 27 points and closed the game out at that point in time. We then allowed San Francisco to march down the field the other way, score a touchdown, get it close. But then when we need it, we came back, made that long drive, got the points. Good evening, Dennis Cockrum and the Trailer Park Country Band back again. Going from South Dakota to Houston. See you all next weekend performing live at the tailgate at the Corner Bar. Sweet. So make sure you go check out those guys next weekend before the Houston Texans game. Vikings put the league on notice this week. I think that they're at least going to have to make people start considering not just saying they're an afterthought and they're going to get blown out by 30 points and whatever all else. You know, like they said, you know, last week was a cute little win against a not very good New York Giants team. The real test is going to be, you know, when they go up against the San Francisco 49ers. Realistically, that game against San Francisco was never in doubt. The Vikings pretty much controlled it from start to finish. Now, there were some bad things, you know, that we need to work on. And the defense gave up 400 yards. Fred Warner's a monster. Yeah, he almost single-handedly wrecked the entire game. Didn't let him break it. That's the difference from what we've seen in years past. Absolutely, you know. And we've seen that a lot with the Kevin O'Connell teams, that they can overcome those bad things that happen against Mike Zimmer. Or with Mike Zimmer as a head coach, this team would have folded like a cheap tent in a thunderstorm and been done. Texans are 3-point favorites as of right now. That's coming down. It was 4.5 earlier today. So, you know, hopefully that's boding well for the Vikings coming up. Naylor was great too. Naylor was very solid, especially after Justin Jefferson went down. You know, we talked about that fourth quarter drive, you know, that took 6 minutes and some odd seconds off of there. And Naylor had 2 very critical third down catches. Now that one was in a pretty tight coverage. He had to contort himself to go back to catch it a little bit. Great catch by Naylor. Now, I'm not going to ding Darnold on that too much because it got the effect on, but if he'd have been able to hit Naylor in stride, Naylor would have scored on that play. Brian watched Houston last night. They are definitely beatable. I kind of thought so too. I like Houston. Their offense is no joke. Joe Mixon's been running well. Stroud, very good quarterback. They got a hell of a receiving core. Nico Collins, Tank Dell, and our old buddy Stephon Diggs. But yeah, they look beatable. Now, Chicago's defense is good, but I'll put our defense up against that, and I think we have a very good shot of beating Houston this weekend. Nico Collins is a study, absolutely. As I love Nico Collins. He's a great wide receiver. Darisaw and O'Neal have had many battles against Danielle Hunter. Yep. More worried about Will Anderson and Hunter. Yeah, I mean, you got both of those guys, and that's the thing. They are both very good rushers, and that's why Houston's second in the league in sacks right now with 9. I don't remember the numbers that each of those two have, but they were making life miserable for Caleb Williams last night. So Darisaw got worked by Bosa. He did on that one. The one I'm not sure. I think Aaron Jones was supposed to chip him when he went out before he released, and he really didn't do that. So I don't know if that one was all on Darisaw. Petrie's the real deal. Yep. Jets versus Stingley. That ought to be a very good matchup. I want to talk about one other one. Ty Chandler. He had himself a very good day yesterday. 10 rushes for 82 yards. That's an 8.2 yards per carry. Every time Chandler touched the ball, he looked like a man possessed. I mean, he 4, 5, 6, 12, 15, 17 yards rushing. I mean, he was hitting the holes and he was going. They tried to get cute with him there in the fourth quarter on that drive where they finally went down and got that field goal that sealed the deal. When I saw him bleed out into the flat there and go back like he was going to throw that halfback pass, I'm like, don't get freaking cute. We're going to do this. You're going to throw an interception, and then 49ers are going to turn around and take it back down the field. Now, luckily, there wasn't anybody open, so he tucked it and just took it as a loss. I will take that play versus throwing an interception down there. Now, that's my one gripe I had with Kevin O'Connell yesterday. He tried to get cute there. It's one play, but it's in a critical situation in a time when we don't need to get cute. We just needed to run clock. So, if you want to try that earlier in the game or something like that, fine. But down there doing that, I'm not a fan of that. Norsefius, the game against Houston is a noon kickoff next week. So, same time. I don't know if it's CBS or Fox. I think it's CBS. Tonight's game is on at might be starting at like 7:30. Dan says no score yet. Could do without the toss plays or let a free rusher through. Yeah, there is that. There's always room for improvement, and O'Connell's going to tell you the same thing. But by and large, he's coached very well the first 2 weeks. This season, called very good. His play calling was very good. I thought last week against the Giants was one of his best games as a play caller that he's had. They did very well again yesterday. And looking at and I don't want to keep bringing Kirk Cousins up, and I'm not going to rip on Kirk too much, but some of those throws that Darnold was making yesterday, Kirk Cousins is not going to make those because they are risky throws. It's not because Kirk can't make them, because Kirk can make every throw. But he's not going to throw them because there's more of a risk involved in them, like that 1-2 nailer on that final drive, and a couple other ones there. Darnold has got more of that fuck it attitude to him. He's not a wild gunslinger like Nick Mullins who's just going to go toss the ball around stupidly. He's smart about it. But but he's starting to play like the 3rd overall pick that he was back in his draft class. Kirk wouldn't try to make those throws. That was exactly my point, doctors. He would have taken checkdowns in a lot of those places, and on that final drive, we probably would have ended up punting. Sam looks to have better pocket presence. The thing of it is with Sam is Sam will get out and move around the pocket, and Sam is mobile. We know Kirk looks like a newborn colt half the time when he tries to run, and with that bum wheel, he's not going to run. But the presence of being able to get out. There was one play that I will knock Darnold on yesterday. That there's a couple of them. The first one was that play we had early where they tried to do the pitch back, and he ended up having basically taken a jump shot over the top of, I think it was Darisaw, to get it back, try to get it back. The running back ended up with a 13-yard loss. That's one that you just eat at that point in time. And then the other one was that play where I think it was in the third quarter, might have been early fourth quarter, where he was scrambling around out in the flat, and it was on a third down, 3rd and 4, I think it was. Could have taken off and gotten the first down, but instead he tried to back up and try to find somebody downfield, and then ran into Ed Ingram and ended up getting sacked by Bosa. So there was a couple, that's just a couple of small decision-making things that I had a little bit of an issue with yesterday. But of course, most quarterbacks aren't going to be perfect across the board on that stuff. So we won the game, so it's a moot point. But I want to be balanced enough in here to, the win is great. We'll take it. It was awesome, but there's still stuff to work on. We are far from a finished product. We got to cut the turnovers down. The penalties came down a little bit yet from the first week, so that's a good sign. If we have Justin Jefferson is able to play this week, Jordan Addison, have not heard whether or not he would be ready to go this week. I think that's probably still up in the air. But at least if we have Jefferson, I feel better about it. Sam's playing exactly how a talented college quarterback who was ruined his first few years. Yeah, absolutely, Doc. And we said this before, that if Sam Darnold was going to succeed anywhere, it was going to be with Kevin O'Connell because of the weapons that we have and because of how Kevin O'Connell coaches. And O'Connell brought that up a little bit in his post-game press conference yesterday. You're talking about, the narrative about Sam Darnold in the past and stuff. And he's like, I don't want to talk about the stuff in the past. Sam is here. The stuff Sam is doing is exactly what we need Sam to do. And Lance and I talked about this before, and it's so far it's coming to fruition, that Sam Darnold can have a Baker Mayfield-like resurgence this year with Minnesota. And so far he is doing exactly that. Jets playing, he's had this circled against Stingley. Yeah. I think Jefferson's going to play. It's a thigh bruise or a quad bruise, so it'll be all right, I think. Sam could do with Addison, Jones, Hawk, and JJ all at the same time. Yeah, when we get the full complement of guys back, watch out. Katie bar the door. This offense will be loaded and ready to go. We're doing well as it is. I mean, Darnold is 208 last week, 268, I think it was this week. So, Darnold's doing exactly what we need him to do. And the defense is making the timely plays. We had that Jihad Ward, right place, right time yesterday when the ball slipped out of Purdy's hand. Thought originally it was an interception. They ruled it was a fumble, but got that there. The deflection interception that Josh Metellus had. Blake Cashman was about that far away from having that one that he probably could have returned for 6 if he'd have been able to get a hold of it. There's a couple other chances there that we had for interceptions that didn't come to fruition. If we can turn some more of those in, it's only going to help even more. Ayuk and Debo were getting their yards. That concerns me a little bit, especially coming this week against Collins, Dell, and Diggs. But they're going to work on this stuff. They're going to have a separate game plan for all of this. quarterback this week. They're going to have to keep him in the pocket more. Stroud will get out and run. And so you're going to have to keep him contained. That's going to be a big point of emphasis this week, I'm sure. Ward is another guy, didn't think makes the roster, but played yesterday when he had the opportunity. I figured Ward was going to make it just because he's got enough versatility where, veteran presence for one. For two, he's big enough, he can play up on the line if they need him to. So I think that all played into it. Van Ginkel's going to have multiple pick sixes this year. 2 more of those. Yeah, that one, he down at the goal, near the goal line, that he almost snagged that one. And if he'd have got it, he'd have been back all the way too on that. And that would have been like a 90 some odd yard return. I am quickly becoming a very huge fan of Andrew Van Ginkel. The guy plays all over the field. He's got a motor that just doesn't stop. Every time you see a pile, he's right there. He's always around the ball. And that's the kind of players that you need. And I forget who it was. Might have been Reggie that said this earlier today, that, we've got this infection, the deal with the locker room. Everybody's playing for each other, playing as a team, us against the world, because nobody is giving the Vikings a chance to do anything this year. And I think that resonates with these guys. They're like, fuck you guys. We got just as much chance of doing something as anybody else, and we're going to go out there and we're going to show you. And when you've got the mad scientist on defense and you've got Kevin O'Connell on offense and all those weapons, this team has got the potential to do things this year. I mean, I thought they were going to be a lot better than what the national people were saying, but they've even surprised me this year. I figured that we probably were going to lose to San Francisco prior to the season. Now, getting close after we played the Giants, I had a good feeling we were going to win this week. I think we can beat Houston this week also. Going to be a tough game, but they looked beatable last night. They weren't some, unstoppable juggernaut Kansas City Chiefs with the refs helping them out kind of thing. So I think there's a very good chance that that we can start this season at 3-0, going to Lambeau Field in 2 weeks, where another huge win there. Speaking of Packers, surprised the shit out of me yesterday. Malik Willis did enough to get the Packers a win. Indy, I don't know what happened to them yesterday, but Green Bay avoided the dreaded 0-2. They're sitting at 1-1 along with everybody else, other than Minnesota in the division. Not a game all year where I'll say it's an L before the game starts. 17-0 till it ain't. Yeah, I know. I don't like to pick against them, but I'm trying to be honest when I make my picks, and if I feel we have a tough road to hoe, I'll call it like I see it. But yeah, I hope we win every game. Also, I mean, odds of us happening is not very high, but it has happened before. Pat Jones breaking out the bass fishing celebration, a la B-Rob. I didn't see that part of it. I saw the 2 sacks, but I missed the celebration afterwards. Hope the Packers try running 50 times on set. Well, that was a big reason why they won yesterday, was because of Josh Jacobs. I think he ran, what the heck was he? He was well into the 30s in carries, I think so. And they're going to keep doing that until Jordan Love's come back. Now, I heard somebody try to say that Jordan Love was actually close to playing this week, which I'm going to call bullshit on. You don't sprain your MCL and play the next week. It just doesn't happen. I would be surprised if he may be back for the Minnesota game, but I would kind of be surprised about that too. They're playing some shenanigans with the injury report as far as I'm concerned, but we'll see what happens there. Other than that, Anybody else got anything we want to talk about from the game yesterday, or anything else of that nature? Doc, if we go 3-1 after 4 games, I'm okay with that. Better than I expected. Yeah, the beginning of the season was the juggernaut as far as the schedule goes. Now, I don't want that one loss to be to Green Bay, but yeah, 3-1 after 4, I'll take that. Phillips and Taki both playing up front versus Green Bay. Yeah, Taki Tiamani was in there on a couple of plays yesterday, I saw. So he's getting some run. Kind of hoping to see some LDR here at some point in time, but have yet to get that. Secondary, Gilmore again played like the veteran yesterday. That he had a decent job. Shaq Griffin, little hit and miss. Caleb Evans got his number called a few times out there, making some plays, which is good to see. We do have to shore that down a little bit more. The blitz rate yesterday was up back to normal Brian Flores levels. I think it was at 47.5%. Versus the 22 against the Giants. Now, we were getting home with 4 against the Giants. A lot of times yesterday we were sending at least 5 against Purdy, so that makes a difference. 2 nose tackle formation. I wouldn't be surprised if we see it on running plays. You put the big guys in there. Where's Bryce Young going? I don't think he's going anywhere right now. I think some of it is maybe that they're realizing that maybe Bryce Young is in a little over his head, and to kind of save him from getting ruined, they're going to sit him for a little bit. I don't know that that's the case. Maybe they are done with Bryce Young. You got a new coach in there in his second game, but David Tepper, the owner down there, is a complete and total jackwagon from everything I've heard. Doesn't have much patience for anything, so I'm guessing. I forget the head coach's name down there, but he's the OC from Tampa Bay last year. I'm guessing he's probably feeling a little heat already with the 2 horseshit performances they've turned in the first 2 weeks. So they're going to try mix things up a little bit and see if they're any better with a veteran like Andy Dalton at quarterback for a little bit. Maybe let Bryce Young sit and learn and watch a little for a while. Kind of see what if they get the number 1 overall pick, they'll probably take a quarterback next year and move on from Bryce Young like the Bears did with Justin Fields. Some experts had us winning only 4 games halfway there. Yeah, you lose your expert title when we start 4-0. Absolutely. I mean, the over-under was 6.5 for the season. But yeah, I saw a lot of places are 4-13, 5-12, whatever. Number 1 overall pick, I even saw in a few scenarios for the season for the Vikings next year. We'd have to lose out right now to get the number 1 overall pick. And Carolina still probably would beat us to that. Ivan Pace Jr. is a stud. Absolutely. The guy is like a rabid chihuahua out there on the field. He's all over the place. And he had a pretty badass outfit when he came into the came to work yesterday. If you guys saw that, he had the Vikings bib overalls, that you see people out in the tailgate lots and stuff wearing all the time. No shirt, just one strap buckled and walking into the stadium like that is kind of pretty badass looking. I love Ivan Pace. He's a feisty little fucker, and I love it. Kirk Cousins almost got picked. What can this defense do with an actual fat boy nose tackle? That's all I want. I've been calling for that for the last 2-3 years, that we need a big, nasty, ornery guy in that middle to just plug the holes and take up space in there. Should have sat Young last year. I agree, Dan. Took the bet. Was it what's that, Reggie? The over/under, or which one are you talking? Bryce can go to Miami. They need a quarterback. Yeah, I mean, that would be a good landing spot for him. I think Mike McDaniel could maybe do something with him if there's anything to be done with him. That would be a good landing spot for him. The Tua situation down there, don't know what's going on yet. Sounds like they're not putting him on IR, so they expect him to play. Excuse me. I doubt he plays this week. I don't know that he'll even clear concussion protocol by that time with his history. Can you all imagine Kevin Williams in this defense? Kevin Williams would be great on there, or Pat Williams at nose tackle would be even better, I think. On the wins total, I figured that's what you were talking about, Reggie, but wanted to double check. Pace has pissed me off. Go make tackle instead of trying to be on the highlight reel. He was in there. I mean, on a lot of the stuff, he did miss a couple that he kind of went flying in a little bit too overzealous, I think, where he could have slowed it back just a little bit. And, it made the tackle instead of getting spinned out. Jerry Ball would be another good one on this defense. Absolutely. It's sad when you think about how many good quarterbacks get ruined at this point. I go back to what Kevin O'Connell said, in the preseason and training camp and all that other stuff when they were talking about everybody was getting on the hype train about getting J.J. McCarthy in before he had his meniscus issue, that way more often teams will ruin a young quarterback way before, or teams will fail the young quarterback way before the young quarterback fails the team. And that's very solid. I mean, it's well documented. A lot of the times why these young quarterbacks don't pan out, all these very high picks, highly lauded guys come out of college, is because they go to god-awful teams that don't have anything around them as far as weapons, protection, defense, any of that stuff. They sign these guys and they expect them to come in and be the savior right off the get-go with nothing around them, make chicken salad out of chicken shit, and they can't do it. But then you see guys that come in like CJ Stroud last year walked into a pretty good situation in Houston. He's doing well. None of the rookies this year that are starting are playing really worth the crap. I don't know if any of them have touchdown passes yet. Jaden Daniels doesn't. He's got a couple of rushing touchdowns, but he doesn't have any passing touchdowns. Caleb Williams, again, has looked god-awful. Bo Nix, again, looks like what everybody thought Bo Nix was going to look like. His average depth of target is about 5 or 6 yards, and he's just doing that dink and dunk and dink and dunk and dink and dunks kind of stuff. He's not trying to stretch the field. Had 2 interceptions yesterday. Didn't look very good. Don't draft a weak arm quarterback, midget quarterback, especially one overall. Jeff George. Yeah, Jeff George. There again was another one. Oh, Anthony brings this up. This was actually a funny story. I didn't see it, but I heard about him talking about it on KFan this morning. Power Trip guys were talking about it. There was a play at one point in time during the game where I guess there was a pass play called and Malik Willis audibled out of it and did a run play. I think he might have ran it himself. And LaFleur asked him out, when we got back to the sidelines, why the hell he audibled out of that pass play. The reason why he did it was because the center threw up prior to the snap and puked on the ball. And Willis had saw that and he audibled out of it because he said, I can't throw a ball with puke on it. I'm not gonna be able to grip it. So I thought that was kind of funny, but that happens a lot. They said there's a lot of times that happens on the field. Guys get gassed, guys get winded. For those of us who played football, you start running gassers and stuff. Especially, if you're not perfectly conditioned, there's a lot of guys during training camp and stuff that are going to be bent over and puking in the bushes or wherever. It happens during games too all the time. There was one a couple years ago that I forget which quarterback it was, actually stepped out of the huddle, turned around, puked, came back into the huddle, called the play, and kept on going. So, I mean, it happens. It's a thing. But turn your head and not yak on the ball. That would be ideal. You don't really want to puke on the ball, but just think about that though. When on a run play going in there, people are going to be stepping in that. They're going to be slipping and falling in it. They're going to get it. It's disgusting, but it kind of funny on the at the same aspect. But hey, wasn't one of our guys, so we keep talk about before with Bradbury and his butt sweat. The Cousins would always talk about that, the soggy bottom boy there, but doesn't seem to be too much of a problem anymore. But you do kind of have a warning. Yeah, usually you're going to feel it coming up before you. You're not just sitting there, and all of a sudden, but maybe it did. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I didn't see it, but I heard about it. So. Anyway, that's really about all I got for tonight. Guess I want to thank you guys all for joining. Had great discussions going in the chat all show long here. If you haven't done so, make sure you hit that like button before you leave. Subscribe to the channel on YouTube if you have not done so. We are almost to 9,000 followers on Facebook. Before the game or before the show here tonight, I think we were like 15 short. So if you have not done so, go like our Facebook page and follow us as well. We want to get to that 9,000 here this week. Reggie. Packer fan bottled it up, saved it for his collection. But yeah, thank you guys so much again. Shout out to the Filipino fan club, as always, for watching halfway around the world. All you guys, I love doing this. I love the Ryno's Rants, just being able to do the recaps and just talking football with you guys. Had a great time tonight. Thank you again for the engagement. Thank you all for everything that you do joining us every week. Brunswick and I cannot tell you how much we appreciate it. We do this for you guys because we love talking football. You guys come with great takes all the time. Make sure you tune in for the live studio preview show of the Houston game. Thinking right now it might be like a late show on Friday. We'll keep you guys posted, so make sure you stay tuned for that. We'll let you know ahead of time. But with that, again, thank you guys very much for joining, and we will see you later on in the week. Have a good evening. Let's go.